So, a boxer engine in a Street Fighter type frame. Now that's something I've always been a bit sceptical about, and that's exactly what BMW have done with the R model of their boxer engined bikes. The bike I'm on today is the BMW R1300R. I last rode its predecessor, the R1200R, about 7 or 8 years ago, and whilst there was nothing wrong with the bike, it was just a bit meh, didn't do anything for me. So when they brought it out in 1250 guys, I couldn't even be bothered to ride it, to be honest. Again, I just didn't think it was the sort of bike that appealed to me. And then BMW come out with the 1300 variant, and I have to say, this looks absolutely amazing. So I'm wondering, with the good looks, changed chassis, new engine, new everything, does suddenly a boxer engine Street Fighter make sense? Stick around and stay tuned, I'll tell you. Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here. Hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to sunny Great Missenden, where they're about to be invaded by Harleys and things, looks it. Hello sir, hello GS, hello Triumph, they're all there, excellent. So today I'm on the new for 2025 R1300R. So this is the latest of the 1300 powered bikes that BMW come out with this year. Hello, talk with the devil. There goes the new GS, the retro GS, lovely looking thing. Haven't ridden that yet, but looking forward to doing so in the future. Anyway, back to this, the R1300R. Yeah, so whenever there's a new engine, a new version of the boxer twin, BMW come out with a whole slew, don't they? So first of all, I rode it in the GS, then I've recently rode it in the RT, it's in the RS as well, of course, now it's in the R. So this is sort of a sporty looking naked Street Fighter bike. Does it make sense, a boxer twin in this? Well, I'm not sure it does. Anyway, we'll find out in the in this review. But before we get into how it rides, let me show you over this, because this is a lovely looking bike. Well, clearly looks are subjective, but I think this is a good looking bike. I know some people don't like this sort of modern day Street Fighter look, but I think BMW have done a nice job on this, particularly when you compare it to the R's that have gone before. Let's have a look at some of the details. We come down the front end here. This is the bit that possibly caused a bit of controversy in people's minds. I actually quite like this waspish front bit. The bit maybe I don't like is where the radar sits, and the problem is if you don't spec the radar, of course you still end up with that bit on the bike, which looks a bit odd, but I think it looks nice. Actually, overall I think this is a lovely looking thing. It's the quality of build is amazing in the usual BMW way. Check out these wheels. I love what they've done here, this sort of black gloss finish, and then the aluminium machined bits look really lovely. The rear wheel in particular, which is obviously it's got this single-sided swing arm, and that to me looks lovely. We can see on this one we've got the optional Acra. It does look good, but that's really all I can say about that. The engine on these doesn't sound that great. Talking of the engine, of course, it's got the crackle finish on this, which I quite like. I think it's going to make them much more hardware than the old finishes they used to have on the Boxers, and this has got the option 719 bits of bling as well on the ends, as you can see. Paint on all this is absolutely lovely, and it's got this interesting sort of almost spongy, well it is spongy finish over the tank, which sort of matches in with the seat. It looks very nice, but I do wonder what the sort of long-term, you know, wearability of that's going to be. The other thing I like about this is the rear end. It's one of the few bikes I've come across that doesn't actually need a tail tidy, and the way these rear lights work, it just looks really nice. Nice touch with a little red bit on the seat as well. Very comfy seat on here. And yeah, overall they've done, I think, a great job. I like the mix of gloss and matte on the front mudguard, which looks high quality. Yeah, it definitely looks and feels like a high quality bike when you're riding it, which is just as well, I guess, because it ain't cheap, but we'll get onto that later. Okay, so we've established then that the new R1300R is a looker. Of course, it's a subjective thing. You may not like it, but I think it looks an absolute cracker. I still don't quite know if those sorts of sporty looks marry up with the pokey out cylinders on a Boxer. Now I have to be honest and say that I've never liked the look of the Boxer engine, or indeed any motorcycle that has sticky out cylinders. That goes for Motor Guzzi V twins as well, where the sort of V of the cylinders pokes out to the side. It's different if it's I suppose it's a transverse V twin, is that right? Like on a Harley when it looks quite nice, sat in the chassis. But when the cylinders poke out, it just looks a bit rubbish to me. So that's just a pet hate of mine. And I've never liked the look of the Boxer engine, although I do like the way it grunts along, particularly on the GS, and that's why I'm such a GS fan and have
had a GS for many, many years. I don't know if you feel the same. Do you think the Boxer engine works right in the Street Fighter? I don't know. The thing is, this engine now has got a lot more go than it used to have in this 1300 form. All the new BMWs are much more sporty than they used to be. And everything about the bikes feels a bit more aimed towards the get up and go kind of end of the spectrum rather than the old man comfort end like they used to be. So let's talk about comfort on this bike, and I have to say it's a very comfy place to be. The seat is beautifully padded. I can move forward and back reasonably about. I'm a medium-sized fella, 5'8", and yeah, very comfortable for me. I'm canted forward a little bit of a tuck in the leg. It's sort of sporty. It feels a bit sportier than the 1200R that I rode all those years ago, and it feels like you're on something sporty when you're sat on it, the way it cants you forward. It feels very wide between the legs. You've got quite a lot of fuel tank here and very wide handlebars. It's comfy, I like it. Right, let's take it down my suspension handling road. Now I have to say this bike I've got is fully loaded. It's the press bike, so it's got all the packs and tech you can throw at it, including the fancy semi-electronic suspension, semi-active, whatever it's called. Anyway, up this bumpy road, it's lovely. Feels really nice up here. I've ridden loads of bikes up here, and I have to say there's been none that feels any better than that. That is really, really nice. I've got it in road mode. I have ridden it earlier in dynamic just to see if that made a difference to the suspension, and in road it is quite nice and soft and supple. I could ride for hours and hours on this. Now I own a Ducati Street Fighter, and that is nowhere near as comfy as this, I have to say, and the suspension is nowhere near as plush. So if you like your Street Fighters on the plush side that you can do miles and miles on, this is definitely worth considering. Lovely light clutch. This also has a quick shifter up and down that works pretty well on here actually. The gearboxes on Boxers are always a little bit clunky, so I assumed this quick shifter would be too, but I have to say, compared to the GS and the RT quick shifters I've been using, this one feels the best yet. Even in lower gears it's not too clunky. It's a little bit, but not terrible. So thumbs up for the quick shifter on here. Right, this is my little handling road. The bike does feel very agile and light-footed. Yeah, it's nice down here, nice smooth airflow as well, so even though it's a naked bike and you're exposed to all the elements, you're not sat in a turbulent airflow, which is really very pleasant. Something that's not so great about this 1300 engine, even though it's grunty and got loads of torque, it doesn't sound that great. This one's got the Acura can on it and I can barely hear it, but to be honest that's fine with me because it just doesn't sound great anyway, this engine. I don't really want to hear it any louder. There's no lack of power here. In fact, let's take this Seat while I've got a chance. Wow, yeah, plenty fast enough, but then so it should be. With 140 odd brake horsepower and a 1300cc engine, expect it to be quick. It's not explosive fast like a Super Duke or a Ducati Street Fighter, but it's quick. What it has got on its side is agility and comfort, and all those familiar things that you love about BMWs. The TFT is lovely, switchgear is very familiar, although this one again laden with all the electronics it does, because it's got all the extras on this. It's quite complicated to get at the various menus and things in here. If you want to put that, it's got a heated seat on this, believe it or not. If you want to turn that on, it's deep in the menus. Same with the heated grips, all that stuff. This one's got adaptive cruise control, which I absolutely love. So all those things that you like on BMWs, you can throw at this, but my goodness me, it doesn't half increase the price. In fact, while I'm behind this blue vehicle, should we go through the spec?
Alright, numbers time. This now very familiar 1300cc Boxer twin puts out 144-ish brake horsepower, 149 Nm of torque, same as we've seen in the GS, the GSA, RT and RS. Brakes on the front of the bike, twin 310mm discs, 4-pot calipers, and in this case I think that's the optional sport caliper. The rear has a single disc, 285mm, and a 2-pot caliper. Suspension on the front, we've got these upside down telescopic forks, and in the case of this bike it's got the fancy electronic suspension on it as well, so no funny front end on this particular BMW. On the back it's got what BMW call their Evo power lever suspension. It has this central suspension strut. Seat height on the bike as standard comes in at 810mm, but you can get it as low as 785 or as high as 840mm, so something for everyone here. Wet weight of the bike, and that's fully fueled, is 239 kilograms, so that's pretty heavy for a naked. Tank capacity, 17 litres usable in this tank. Electronics wise, this bike can have all sorts of things thrown at it in the usual BMW way. Standard, it comes with very little other than pretty much just keyless ride, and that's about it, but you can have all sorts of other stuff on here, like the fancy radar controlled cruise control and fancy suspension, heated seats, all that stuff is there. Do check out the BMW website for full details. Price wise, the very basic bike starts at £13,200, which sounds like an absolute bargain, but by the time you've added the stuff you want to add to it, then expect not a lot of change out of about 18 or 19 grand. Bike's available in various colours, and you can get all sorts of luggage options as well. Again, there's just too much to talk through on a first ride review, but check out BMW's website for all the details of all the various configurations you can get.
Okay, welcome back. I'm still stuck behind this blue vehicle. There's nothing behind me. I always want a bit distant. Let's just try the front brake. Wow. Amazing front brake. I think again these are extras on here. I think these are what they call a sport brake. Now I don't know what the difference is between the sports optional brakes and the normal brakes, but these work really well. They've got a nice bit of feel to them. I won't jab it on again because that car's caught me up behind, but yeah, they're not wooden at all, and they bring you to a halt very quickly. Let me just try the rear. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. In fact, it's pretty good, that rear, but then I guess you'd expect it with a 2-pot caliper. Now this is a shockingly bumpy road I'm riding down here, but this bike is making very light work of it. It's very nice, I have to say. I already know, you know, bikes you kind of fit, don't you, into categories in your head. When you ride them quite quickly, when you've ridden a lot, you quickly decide if you like a bike or not, and this definitely fits in the like category. As I said, the R's before this I was just indifferent about. There's nothing wrong with them, I just didn't think they were particularly exciting in any way. But now this one looks so nice, you know, it's really enhanced the looks, and now it's got all the good things you can get from BMW and the 1300 guys. It's tipped the balance in its favour, and if you're in the market for this type of bike, definitely worth looking at. But having said that, I'm not sure who the market is, because to me, if you are in the market for a Street Fighter naked type bike, then you are going to be looking at KTM Super Duke, Tuonos, Ducati Street Fighters, all those sort of bikes. And those are all, has to be said, a lot faster and a lot more exciting than this bike is. They're all arguably not as comfortable and not as practical. So maybe it depends where you sit on that spectrum, but I'm not quite sure who this bike is aimed at. I mean, you could say it's aimed at me, because I own both a GS with the Boxer engine in, and I own a Ducati Street Fighter. So clearly I like both those categories of bikes. I'm not sure I would replace both those bikes with this. I can't put my finger on why, mind, because it's a nice place to be. I'm loving this seat. I spent a lot of time recently on the BMW RT, their big tourer, and I moaned about the seat on that. This is more comfortable than the RT. I don't know if they put different foam in the RT, or I don't know. But this one's got the good foam in it. Alright folks, welcome to the local train station, where I shall be parking the bike up in the middle of a parking spot, checking out what it's like to move it around, to simulate what it's like living with it in your garage, and also checking out what the turning circle is like as well. I have a good feeling about this one. Let me get well out of the way of parked cars. Right, this will do. And in the middle of this spot. This bike does feel nice and light, which is a great thing. Alright, easy to find neutral. My feet, I'm 5'8", 32-inch legs. My feet are flat on the deck, look. And this, I think, has got the standard seat on it. Side stand, very easy to get down. Kill the bike there. Alright, there she is. What a nice looking motorcycle, isn't it? Okie dokie, let's see what she's like to get off. The side stand, by the way, is quite stalky looking, look, but quite substantial. Anyway, getting her off the side stand, no problem at all. Easy. Alright, round we go. Full lock. Let's see what she does in terms of turning circle. Last bike I did this with was the RT, and I have to say this is quite different to that. Right, there we go. So that was the middle of that one to the middle of that one. So actually it's a little bit wider, the turning circle, than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be really tight, but the bike is pretty wide, which I actually quite like. check out that sort of width there, and it does, I guess, just impinge a bit on the handlebar, the turning circle, but overall I'd put this in the category of easy bikes to live with. Moving this about your garage, piece of cake. So let's kind of summarise the pros and cons, shall we? Let's get through the negatives first, and there's really not much to not like about this bike. I have to say, everything about it is good. I don't like the pokey out cylinders, the Boxer engine, but then the Boxer engine itself is lovely. It's nice and smooth, and the 1300 guys, it's now got much more pep than it used to have. Of course, it's got that low down grunt, tractability, all the things we love about the Boxer twin. If that's your thing, then this bike's of course still got that. The only other thing I don't like about it, and that's the case with so many bikes these days, is the price. Once you add the things that you would definitely want, I would definitely want the adaptive cruise control, because that is excellent. No blind spot monitoring on the mirrors though, by the way, I don't think anyway. Haven't seen it kick into action, and these bar end mirrors, I don't think I've ever seen blind spot on those. But yeah, once you've added the things that you need, it's got a heated seat, heated grips, and the comfort package, and you might want the dynamic package as well to give you the quick shifter and all those bits and pieces. It quickly adds up. I went onto the configurator and I quickly got up to 18.5 grand. By the time I'd added those and a nice paint scheme, I went for the sort of rally one. I think it was 18.5 grand. So price soon goes up there. I'm sure if you added luggage and stuff as well, you'd be knocking on the door of 20 grand in no time. So that, I guess, is the big thing I don't like, is the price. But then compare it to its competitors. I mentioned the Ducati Street Fighter, that comes in at something like 25 grand. But then that is a much more hairy, leery bike than this. But in that context, it makes the price look good, doesn't it? But then I suppose you could compare it with something like an MT10 maybe. Again, a very different character of bike, but I think you can pick those up for probably about 16. So yeah, pricing I don't like. So aside from the sticky out cylinders, which is just a personal thing, and the pricing, there's nothing else about this I don't like. Everything else is great. Actually, sorry, there is one other major thing, and that is the way all the electronics are controlled. I have this complaint about every new BMW. This little hamburger button they've got now, and the little combination of menus, I find it all very non-intuitive and complicated to get through the various options. Now if you own the bike, you would of course, if you're anything like me, study the manual, you'd learn how it all works, it becomes second nature, so it wouldn't be a problem. So I really need to stop whinging about that every time I jump on a BMW, because they're all the same now, just got to get with the program. But if you, if it was your bike, you'd learn how that worked, and I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem, although I still don't like the idea of digging 3 menus deep to turn your heated grips on or off. So that's it, that is me gripes out the way. Price, complexity of electronics, sticky out cylinders. Everything else I love. The comfort is great, the ability to go and stop is great, it looks fantastic. All the things that really matter, BMW have absolutely nailed on the new R1300R. For me, sadly, it's in the order of sort of looks, comfort, stopping and going. Those are the most important things, and all those things this bike does absolutely brilliantly. So yeah, from me, for a change for the R version of the Boxer series engine bikes, it's a thumbs up. I'm liking it. It handles lovely, feels nice and light, goes well, looks good. What more do you need? Nice one, BMW. Alright, hope you enjoyed that. Don't be a stranger, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I don't just do bike reviews here on the Missenden Flyer, but I do trips and tours at home and abroad, monthly bike news, how-tos, things about looking after your bike in the garage, you name it. I try and cover it here on the channel. It'll be great to have along next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio. Just noticed fiddling around with the TFT, it does have the sports screen as well if you like that sort of game. I do, it's quite fun, shows you things like lean angle, braking amount, traction control, all that sort of thing. It's just a different display to have some fun with. Appears to be there as standard. Check out that sky today, look at that up there. Wow. I do like a sky in the UK. There's something about them, especially in the summer. Stop recording.